Fast forward, any come out channel you so AGH Politics Avenue podcast or reception and make making headlines. And yajembre na eribi exomo ewaha. Any dimni ahobrak semuse ende edi kanyam stress bit subscribe to the channel. It's a notification bell so share na for front so answer into me and can be. So the beya edi a year information be tuma wo and away the fake specs here. Uria unsa ebi to me aka on the political platform so GH Politics Avenue. But that's in your mitro nyoke say what him answer at the amame. Na yembo ingra ye yensim, a jet it piatua, unia enye asam kotuakra. Ningana say, in the Supreme Court, it me etnase, efa a ye Kpandai a ye election, MPP, Americono, it me a de PMU a ye Supreme Court. Say a decision, a tamale court. Decide ye over a year ruling no umbo into na the woman in say court etnasi no was say January 28th verdict no a bit me abaso a ho any behu a year ura Nyindams ono ni jina be pa unia enya asem kotoa na me no ka say nsema hodo atim epi mu e wo court wo de ya jemre ya chichiri bi e de agu channel yisua ye to be at the amane on baby will be at this point in time semre yembo ingra in simnim na yenhwe ye ko ene de eba meda ko se wajemre ewa yemfa ingra stories.
And the Supreme Court has set January 28, which is a Wednesday, to rule on the application by Member of Parliament for Kpandai, Hon.Nyindam, to quash the decision of the Tamale High Court. The NDC parliamentary candidate for Kpandai, Daniel Nsala Wakpao, filed an election petition which resulted in the annulment of Nyindam's election. Lawyers of Hon.Nyindam then escalated the matter to the Apex Court, arguing that the High Court judge lacked jurisdiction and the petition was later filed after the mandatory 21-day period. Let's listen to what transpired in court right now. And Lord Addo Asare is our court correspondent. He's joined us. Lord, so thank you for joining us. To start with, what's the reaction after the decision to adjourn again this case that many thought would see some finality today?
Well, Martin, both parties are pretty confident ahead of Wednesday, January 28th. For example, Nelson Defenko, he's saying that let's wait for the decision of the courts, but looking at the argument that they've made, they believe that at the end of the day, things may go in their favor. Same goes to the NPP, who was led by Gary Nimakon. But essentially, the crux of their argument today was that Gary Nimakon, the lead counsel for Hon.Nyindam, he argued on two grounds. First, being that the Tamale High Court's judge acted out of jurisdiction in that the NDC candidate, Daniel Nsala Wakpao, he filed the petition out of time, which was the 21 mandatory period. Now, he noted that he filed the petition on January 25, although the Kpandai parliamentary elections was gazetted. There is also a gazetted on December 24. During the calculations, he indicated that they filed their petition way out of time and so prayed the court to quash the decision of the High Court, relying on this. The second ground was that he indicated that looking at, for example, the jurisdictional error by the judge, all other action taken after that was essentially null and void. And so again, he was saying that the Apex Court should rely on these and then quash the decision of the Tamale High Court. Now, lawyers of Daniel Nsala Wakpao, led by Sika Ablan Addo, she vehemently opposed the application in that she indicated that there were two gazette notifications on the day, the first being December 24, and the Kpandai election results, she added that they were re-gazetted on January 6, and they relied on the January 6 gazette to file their, as it were, election petition. So it cannot be the case that they filed out of time. She added that in any case, Hon.Nyindam himself relied on this January 6 gazette at the Tamale High Court. And so she actually accused them of cherry picking which Gazette notification to use for their application. Counsel for the Electoral Commission, who, by the way, Martin, they turned up in court today, because you recall that at the last time there was no representation from the Electoral Commission. It was just the lawyer who was in court, and it evoked some emotional outbursts, for want of a better word, from the bench, blasting them that they should take the matter pretty seriously. And so this time around, we had representation from the Electoral Commission. So the lead counsel, Justin Amenuvo, he indicated that, you'd recall, Martin, that the Akwesia parliamentary results had a similar situation where they indicated that media publication of the Gazette was relied on to declare the for which reason they filed the petition. And so indicated that using this in hindsight, or using this as a case study, immediately this happened, he went to get the hard copy of both gazettes, which is the December 24 and then January 6. And so he indicated that the court should rely on these. So, Martin, basically, Daniel Wakpao's lawyers are saying that the bench or the Apex Court should throw out this application to court the Tamale High Court, because it cannot be the case that they will rely on a December 24 Gazette notice when there's an updated version which contains all the 276 constituency results, including that of Kpandai. And so we're back in court January 28th for the Apex Court to make the final judgments on this application. Then there was the order for the injunction, or if you like, suspension of the Kpandai rerun until the final determination of this matter, Martin.
Right, and Lord Du Asari, they're reporting from the court. So we know that January 28th is just next week, Wednesday, and we'll definitely be updating you on that. But we know that one of the counsels for the NDC in the person of Dafamakpo Nelson has also been speaking on this. So let's listen to him.
Members of the media, the court just heard arguments in the sexual application board against the decision that was delivered by the High Court Commercial Division in Tamale regarding the order directing the Electoral Commission to order for a rerun in the Kpandai parliamentary elections. The matter has been adjourned to, I believe, Wednesday, 28th of January for a decision. Now, we believe in the wisdom of the Supreme Court, so we know that justice will be done. You must look at conduct of the parties in the matter. This is a case that the applicant or the respondent in this matter, the second interested party, the applicant in the petition case in Tamale, didn't sleep on his rights. When the Electoral Commission was refusing to issue Gazette notifications, after 2 weeks, when the elections were held on the 7th, and by the 23rd, time was running, so we went to court. Nobody can blame somebody who goes to seek a judicial remedy. So where public documents are made available in court, and they are brought to your attention, you have a duty under law to observe the terms of those public documents. Today they say that they are online publications, but they were not online publications. Those were the same documents they brought to Parliament. In fact, on the 6th of January, that was the document that the clerk relied on to swear me to take the former in as a member of Parliament.
Right, so in the coming days, we will know what the court's decision will be. Let's go to one of our headline stories we have for you this afternoon. It's all joy for a 30-year-old surrogate mother who has given birth to quadruplets in Ghana, bringing hope and joy to a couple who had been struggling with infertility. The intended mother had lost her womb during a fibroid operation, making it impossible for her to carry a pregnancy. Portia Gabo brings us excerpts of a full story that will be aired later tonight.
This one was where the surrogate's own egg was used. She decided to use her own egg because sometimes we explain the procedures to them, the IUI, the IVF, and they think that the IVF, going through the IVF process, is very invasive. The injections they take, all that, or they would rather opt for the IUI with the intended father's sperm. Our lawyer has drafted a 28-page agreement. The surrogacy is now regulated in Ghana. So we have the Act 1027, Registration of Births and Deaths Act. When you go in there, you see that surrogacy is regulated in the country. So everybody is serious about it, and we are very particular about it, especially taking the welfare and health of the surrogates into consideration, making sure that she is well catered for. I'm part of people urging the state to come out with regulation on surrogacy. I mean, we're still discussing whether it will be necessary for the surrogate to get to know the parent, or the children, in the future, to get to know their roots. From $28,000, you can't get it, but in other facilities in the country, and then all that starts from $30,000. In the States, you are getting to around $100,000. So surrogacy can be expensive, but then we try as much as possible to be reasonable. Quite recently, I met a very young lady, 32-year-old lady, who had done 5 fibroid surgeries. And at the time I met her, the fibroids had come back. So for such a lady, I mean, going into the womb, back and forth, creates additions, and some other issues with the womb. So it may not be appropriate to try to conceive yourself, or surrogacy could be an option.
And many people watching this story are smiling. May you receive the bounty of having a baby cry at home if you are expecting. Hallelujah to that. Well, we'll bring you that full story later tonight, so you want to stay with TV3 and watch how the full story unfolded. Let's go on to some other stories now. The Ministry of the Interior is urging the public to take advantage of the ongoing gun amnesty program or face a 10-year prison term if they are found out. Now, the Small Arms Commission is also cautioning foreigners that anyone caught with illicit weapons or attempting to smuggle them into the country will not be spared.
Firearm importation, sales, new permits and registrations remain suspended as government and security agencies intensify efforts to retrieve illicit weapons. Since 2002, over 10,000 illegal firearms have been destroyed. Police and Small Arms Commission data for the first half of 2025 recorded 122 armed robberies, 342 murders, 70 arrests for unlawful possession, 156 deaths, and 93 injuries from gun-related incidents. The Deputy Interior Minister, Ebenezer Oklete-Telabi, says calls for an extension of the amnesty are under review, but once it ends, the law will fully take effect.
I am aware of the growing public interest and stakeholder call for the extension of the gun amnesty program. I wish to assure you that the Honorable Minister of Interior is giving careful consideration to these calls. While this consideration is ongoing, it is important to emphasize that the amnesty is still in effect. Let me be clear that once the amnesty period comes to an end, the law will be enforced fully and with your support.
Executive Secretary of National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, Dr. Adam Bona, confirms in an interview strict background checks before firearm licenses are issued.
If you are someone with good behavior, someone who the law says we can register for you, it will be registered for you after background checks and everything. But those ones that are brought in and cannot be registered, we are confiscated to the state and destroyed. And we have thousands of them that are likely to be destroyed, hopefully this year.
He warned against attempts to aid the smuggling of illicit arms.
Anyone who comes in, even if it's a diplomatic, you enjoy diplomatic immunity. You have a diplomatic bag that is sealed with a diplomatic seal, that it shouldn't be opened. If we have intel that that diplomatic bag contains weapons, illicit weapons, it will be opened. You can't come under the guise of diplomacy and bring weapons. But if we have credible intelligence that that bag there contains firearm and ammunition, and you haven't declared them, obviously it will be opened. And if it is opened, I will take you through the due process.
He further notes that an informant reward scheme will help recover the remaining illegal weapons, urging citizens to report offenders to police for compensation.
Now, I'm sure those of you who are in the University of Ghana would know by now that the Ministry of Education, through the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, has announced the approved fees and charges for the 2025-2026 academic year with no increase in the academic facility user fee. This follows widespread public concern after the University of Ghana released a provisional fee scheduling which indicated an increase of 25%, prompting an immediate intervention by the Education Ministry. Let's listen to the Deputy Education Minister who's been speaking in this report by Nura Mohammed.
Students of the University of Ghana were met with unexpected news as they returned to campus for the first semester. The revised fee structure reflected increments of up to 25% for some year groups, with others recording increases as high as 34%. The development sparked widespread outrage among students, parents, and the general public amid concerns that the fee hikes were not approved by Parliament as required by law. In response, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, in a letter dated January 5, directed the University of Ghana to reverse all fee increments, suspend further collection, and refund monies already paid under the increased rates. Following a stakeholder meeting on January 8 involving the Education Ministry, GTEC, University Management and Student Leadership, the Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Park, together with GTEC, issued a directive on Monday, January 12, to communicate the revised and approved fees and charges for the 2025-2026 academic year.
As we speak, GTEC has already written to the University of Ghana on the 6 points that we agreed upon. But essentially, the meeting sought to examine the fee increases, which components of the fees were increased, and to look at a fee that would not encumber students. But primarily, most of the increases were not from the university. They were from third-party entities like the SRC and GRASAD. We believe that what we have given the go-ahead for the university to implement is acceptable to all parties involved. Yeah.
The Deputy Minister further assured students who have already paid the increased fees that refunds or adjustments will be made, while also outlining possible sanctions should the university fail to comply with the approved fee structure.
The initial directive from GTEC, as instigated by the ministry, was for the university to reverse all charges or payments made on the back of the initially reported increases. So we expect that that would have been reversed. Or there will always be sanctions. That is why, as a ministry and by the direction of the minister, everything we do, we work with the regulator. Although we are the ministry, we regulate tertiary education through the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, who can crack the whip. So if UG decides to do otherwise, you can be sure that UG will be sanctioned.
Now, 3 people have lost their lives in a tragic road accident on the Offinso bridge. The incident has sparked widespread concern about road safety on the busy Kumasi-Offinso highway.
The fatal accident involving an articulated truck carrying heavy metals and a Kia vehicle occurred on Monday night on the Offinso bridge. The collision reportedly triggered a fire outbreak, claiming the lives of 3 occupants of the Kia vehicle, which was traveling from Kumasi towards Techiman. Although the Ghana National Fire Service responded promptly after receiving a distress call, the severity of the crash made rescue efforts difficult. Preliminary report we've gathered so far indicates the heavy-duty vehicle moved to overtake another vehicle and lost its lane, crashing into the Kia vehicle. The accident led to heavy traffic congestion on the Kumasi Offinso stretch, disrupting movement for several hours. The road is currently.
We and some of the team cost or channel so Mamma so Jimre Oha, the Senate so body and the Dumbi Adomania, Yabasan Ballroom, na Yasumo Constant Corporation. Mammy say, AGH Politics Avenue. First time, stress with you subscribe to the channel, hit notification bell so share na Offinso answer into me and Kebi na afi. What me leave you comment constructively under the comment section. But I say, Yamishra Onyendsa.